everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be discussing about the figures of speech. So before diving into the topic, I would like to let you all know that I'll be making a detailed series video based on the literary forms of words. So I'll be making a whole companion detailed guide with proper examples based on different kind of literary forms. Like I'll be making videos on what kind of poetries are there, the elements of poetry, about the figures of speech, about what kind of elements are there in drama, about the types of theaters, about the elements of non-fiction, about the elements of fiction, about different kind of novels. So today we'll be learning about the figures of speech. So, have you guys ever thought about why we say that time is money or life is like a journey? So, these are not just random expression but some creative ways to enhance our communication through the figures of speech. So today we are going to explore how these powerful tools helps us to express our complex ideas in simple and vivid ways. So we must first know that what figures of speech is. So, a figure of speech is a rhetorical device that enhances the meaning of language by drawing some comparisons or exaggerations or giving human like qualities to inanimate objects. So, these creative tools have been used in literature and speech for centuries to add color and depth of our words or to our words. So we must know that why figure of speech matters, both in literature or both in everyday communication. So this will help all of you to understand the relevance of the topic. So figures of speech were not just limited to poetry or some fancy literature. They are everywhere, literally like they are everywhere. So they help us to communicate our emotions, make our language more vivid, and sometimes even add humor or drama to what we say. So, understanding figures of speech allows us to appreciate literature more deeply and enhances our own communication skills. So, if I'll giving you a example, so a most relatable example will be, for instance, when we say that the world is a stage, we are using a metaphor, which was one kind of figure of speech, which is very common. So here the world isn't literally a stage, but it just helps us to understand life as a dramatic performance with people playing different kinds of roles. So today we'll look at some of the most commonly used figures of speech like simile, metaphor, personification, irony, and see how they appear in both classic literature and our everyday conversations. So let's start with the simplest one, which was simile. So we use similes all the time without even realizing it. For example, we say he runs like the wind. What we are doing here is to comparing two different things like he and wind to give an idea of its speed. Now let's dive deeper into how similes work. So, simile is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things using like or as. For example, her smile was like sunshine, brightening up the dull room and warming the hearts of everyone around. So, here the words smile and sunshine are being compared to each other. As we know, both the words smile and sunshine, they are exact opposite. They do not have anything common between them. But we are using smile and sunshine by using the word simile. We're comparing the word smile and sunshine by using the word like or as, so that we can say that her smile was like a sunshine. It lights up everything, like sunshine lights up the world, her smile lights up everything. Suppose I'm in love with someone, or you adore someone, you will like everything about her. So sometimes you'll be comparing her face to a rose, we'll be comparing her eyes to the lotus eyes. In this case, the figure of speech simile will be used. And next comes the metaphor. So, metaphor directly compares two unlike things without using like or as. In the case of simile, two unlike things are compared but with the use of like or as. But in the case of metaphor, two unlike things were compared without using like or as. So, for example, time is a thief that steals our moments of joy when we are not looking. So when I say the statement, time is a thief, it's not that time literally steals something from us. But this metaphor beautifully captures the feeling that time can slip away unnoticed, taking with it the opportunities and moments we can never get back. So today we are going to explore the how the metaphors like these enrich our language, making abstract or complex ideas easier to understand and by drawing some comparison between unrelated things. So it's about unrelated things but without using the word like or as. So metaphor is not just a poetical device, it's a way of seeing the world. So when we say that someone has a heart of stone, I'm giving you another example. So when we say someone that he has a heart of stone, we are using a metaphor to vividly communicate that the person is cold and unfeeling without literally meaning that their heart is made of stone. We're not saying that his heart was like really made of stone. We're metaphorically saying that he is not used to feel something like a hard touch. So this direct comparisons makes the meaning more clear and impactful. So we can see or after this video you also notice that we all use metaphors in everyday life more often than we realize. So it's not just about literature. These poetic devices are not just about literature. These are the everyday use of life. So the next one is personification. So personification is a figure of speech in which non-human objects, animals or abstract ideas are given some human-like attributes, behaviors or emotions. So it allows us to make inanimate objects and abstract concepts more relatable by describing them as if they are really human. So, for example, when we say that the sun smiled down on us, we are using personification. The sun cannot literally smile, but by giving it a human action, we make it feel warm, friendly, and comforting. Here, the example is the wind whispered secrets through the trees as if nature itself had a voice. Of course, we know that wind does not whisper or star does not dance, but we often use these expressions. Why? Because personification helps us to bring life to things that are not alive. So the next one is alliteration. So I'm going to start this alliteration with a fun statement like you guys say this three times first. Like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did you notice the repeated p sounds? That's what we call alliteration. So, alliteration is a figure of speech where the same consonant sound is repeated at the beginning of a nearby words. It creates a musical or rhythmic effect that can make language more engaging and more memorable. So, writers use alliteration to draw attention to a particular section of text, making it stand out, making it feel stand out. So, it creates a sense of rhythm and can make phrases more memorable. So think about just like I gave you an example, think about tongue twisters. This wouldn't be nearly as fun as without the alliteration, without the use of alliteration. So we use alliteration all the time without even thinking about it. So phrases like bees as a bee, money matters, or jump for joy, all these feature repeated sounds that give them a catchy and rhythmic quality. So, for example, Peter picked a peck of pickled pepper. So there is a repeated sounds of P. So alliteration can be playful or serious depending on how it is used. So in poetry, it can create a somber or mysterious moods, like in the line of the Raven, a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. So we see alliteration in the line in the poem Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain. The repetition of the S sound mimics the soft and airy sounds of the curtain rustlings, enhancing the mood of the poem. This is how we can know that this is a alliteration. So the next one is assonance. So assonance is the figures of speech, which is the repetition of vowel sounds within the nearby words. So it's a subtle but powerful tool which is often used in poetry and prose to create a internal rhyming rhythm and a particular mood. So assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in closely placed words, typically in the middle of the word, so that it creates a musical or rhythmic effect. For example, if I say that the early bird catches the worm, so in this sentence, the repetition of the E sound in early and the bird creates a assonance. And now it's a task for you guys. Let me know in the comment section below that the example I provided here in this video about the assonance, tell me how do you know that the example is based on the assonance. Then the next one is hyperbole. So hyperbole you'll recognize instantly because it's all about exaggeration. So we use hyperbole frequently in everyday language, especially when we want to emphasize a point. So, hyperbole is an exaggerated statement or claim that isn't meant to be taken literally, but it is used to emphasize a point. For example, I have told you a million times. Of course, no one has literally said something a million times, but hyperbole here stresses how often the speaker has repeated themselves. So, hyperbole adds emphasis and drama, making an idea or emotion feel more intense and more impactful. So, especially common in advertising, poetry, and everyday speech when you want to make a strong impression. The next one we will be learning is onomatopoeia. So, onomatopoeia is very much fun because it imitates the natural sounds. The words themselves sounds like the noises they describe, making it feel like a great way to bring life to a language. So, onomatopoeia refers to words that phonetically imitate or resemble the sound they describe. For example, the bees buzzed in the garden. So, the word buzzed mimics the actual sound that bees make. And if we take about another example, the bacon sizzled in the pan. When we fry a bacon in a pan, it makes a sizzling sound. So this sizzling sound we use for a piece of bacon. So onomatopoeia is a used to make a vivid description, and it makes feel more engaging. So it creates a sensory experience for the reader or listener, making the scene feel more realistic. So the next we'll be learning about oxymoron. So oxymoron is a figure of speech where two contradictory terms appear together. It's often used to reveal a deeper truth or to create a paradoxical effect. So the actual definition of oxymoron will be that oxymoron is a combination of two words that seem to contradict each other but reveal an underlying truth or create an interesting juxtaposition. For example, deafening silence. Here the word deafening and silence seems exact opposite, but the phrase captures how silence can feel overwhelming in certain situations. So the purpose of oxymoron was that it was often used to draw attention to a concept or idea by combining some contrasting terms. Like they can add complexity irony or humor to a particular statement, making it more thought provoking. So, the next one we'll be learning about is paradox. So, paradox is a contradictory statement that upon closer examination reveals a deeper truth. So it's a statement that appears self contradictory but reveals a valid underlying message. For example, less is more. You can see that it is a self contradictory statement, but it has some underlying message. So, paradox challenges our thinking by presenting contradiction that lead to a deeper understanding. So, when here the example is this is the beginning of the end. When we say that this is the beginning of the end, the word beginning and end are two exact opposite. So this statement itself is a self-contradictory statement, but there is a much deeper understanding in this line. And the next one was synecdoche. So synecdoche is when a part of something represents the whole or vice versa. So, a figure of speech where a part is used to represent the whole or the whole represents a part is considered a synecdoche. For example, all hands on the deck. So, here hands refers to the sailors. So, the purpose of synecdoche here emphasizes the most important or noticeable part of something. So, the next one is metonym. So, metonym involves substituting the name of one thing with the name of something closely associated with it. So it is a figure of speech in which something is referred to by the name of something that is closely associated with it. So for example, when I say that the crown has made a decision, here the crown refers to the monarchy or the crown refers to the king. So without using the word king, we are using a metonym which was the crown. So instead of the statement like the king has made a decision, we are saying here that the crown has made a decision. So the purpose behind this was that it makes language more compact and vivid by referring to concepts in familiar terms, like we use synonyms. So like use by referring some concepts of familiar terms, metonym makes the language more compact and vivid. And the next one is euphemism. So euphemism replaces a harsh or blunt term with a more gentle or polite one. So a mild or indirect word or expression used in place of something that is considered harsh or blunt. So, for example, when we say that she passed away instead of died, we use the word passed away instead of the term died because it sounds good. It sounds gentle. That the word died sounds a little bit more harsh, but the word passed away sounds a gentle or a polite one. So euphemisms soften the impact of unpleasant topics or events. So the next term we are learning about is irony. So irony occurs when there is a contrast between the expectations and the reality. So irony is a figure of speech where the intended meaning is exact opposite to the literal meaning. Means what we intend to say or what our intention behind saying a statement is exact opposite to what the literal meaning was. For example, if I say that a fire station burns down, it is obviously a situational irony because a fire station cannot be burned. And the another example is a pilot is afraid of heights. So it's an ironic statement. A pilot cannot be afraid of heights. If he is afraid of heights, then he cannot be a pilot. So irony often highlights the difference between the appearance and the reality by creating some humor or insight. Then the next one is anaphora. So anaphora is the repetition of words or phrases at the beginning of successive clauses or sentences. So repetition of a word or phrases at the beginning of some successive sentence or clauses is considered as anaphora. So, for example, when I say that we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields. So, the term we shall fight, we shall fight is here being repeated. And for another example, every day, every night, in every way, I am getting better and better. So every here the every word is kind of being repeated. So this statement's considered as an anaphoric statement. So the purpose behind anaphora is that it emphasizes the key ideas and builds rhythm and momentum in writing or speech. And then next comes the epistrophe. So, epistrophe is the repetition of words or phrases at the end of successive clauses or sentences. So, repetition of a word or phrase at the end of successive clause or sentence. So, it is epistrophe. For example, if I say that I swear to tell the truth, that whole truth and nothing but the truth. So here the epistrophe creates emphasis through the repetition and helps to reinforce the key points. Here that he is saying that I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So here the word truth is being emphasized. And for another example, for no government is better than the man who composes it. And I want the best, we need the best, and we deserve the best. So the best word is being emphasized here. Then next comes the antithesis. So the antithesis is a antithesis kind of juxtaposes two opposite ideas in the same sentence for some constructions. So it is a figure of speech that contrasts two opposing ideas in a single sentence or in one sentence. For example, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So the purpose behind a sentence is that it highlights the contrast and the contradiction by emphasizing the difference between the ideas. That it was the best of time and it was the worst of time. It was at that time it was the best of time and it was the worst of time. So it is a this statement contains the figure of speech of antithesis. Next comes the chiasmus. So chiasmus involves reversing the order or words or phrases in parallel clauses for some particular emphasis. So it's a rhetorical device in which the order of words in one clause is inverted in the text. For example, never let a fool kiss you or a kiss fool you. So the purpose behind this statement that it draws attention to the inversion, making the statement more memorable. And for another example, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. So this is an example of chiasmus. The purpose behind the chiasmus that it draws attention to the inversion, making the statement looks more memorable. And next comes the litotes. So litotes is an understatement in which some positive statement in which a positive statement is made by negating its opposite. So it is a figure of speech where an affirmative is being expressed by negating its exact opposite. For example, it's not bad, meaning it's good. We are not directly saying that it's good. We are using a negative meaning not and we are rephrasing the sentence like it's not bad. And for another example, she is not kind means she is kind, but we are trying to make it so the purpose of litotes is to soften the statement, often adding a layer of subtlety or irony. Means she is kind, but we are using the word not for a negative impact, and we are saying that she is not unkind. So it becomes kind of a ironical statement, but with a subtle layer of irony, not much of the ironical statement that we literally use in ironical statements. So next comes apostrophe. So, in apostrophe, the speaker directly addresses an absent person or an abstract idea or inanimate object. So, it is a figure of speech where the speaker addresses someone that is absent, dead, or a non human entity as if it were really present there. For example, if I say that, "Oh death, why is you sting?" means so the apostrophe allows for emotional expressions, bringing some abstract concepts to life. Means death is not actually present, but as our near dear ones become a prisoner to death, it really pains us somewhere. So this apostrophe allows us for some emotional expressions, bringing some literal abstract concepts to our life. And the last one was pun. So we really use pun in everyday language, and in the modern literature, it is the impact was hugely seen. So pun is a humorous play on words that exploits different meanings or similar sounds. If I say that it is a play on words that relies on similar sounds or multiple meanings for humor or a particular emphasis. So if I say the example, time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana. So here the pun creates humor, wordplay, and wit by exploiting the language ambiguities. Means the language, when you use a language, it has a certain ambiguity, but by using the pun, we create some humor, wordplay, and wit by exploiting that ambiguity of the language. So that's it for today. But in the end, I would like to say that as you guys move forward, please pay attention to the figures of speech you encounter in your readings and conversations. Think about how a well placed metaphor or a bit of alliteration can transform ordinary language into something more powerful. Remember, as George Orwell once said, that good prose is like a window pane. Think about how figures of speech helps to make that window pane clear, giving us a new perspective on the world around us. So how will you use these tools to shape your own window into language? Please let me know in the comment section below. And if you found this lecture helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss an update.